I wanted to just create this video to do a run through of what we typically do with any customer who maybe lives out of town and wants to go see some projects. So we're going to do what I would typically do with anyone, is get them in the truck, go start taking a look at a job that's in progress now, timber being harvested, something that's maybe been done for a year, and then something that's been done for 4 to 5 years. So we're headed up to take a look at a couple of our guys. They're cruising a track of timber, which is timber estimation. And that's what we have to do in order to get a true value of what you have in your forest, what your timber's worth. So they're doing what we call a prism cruise, and it's a systematic evaluation of the timber where they're taking plot samples of the forest. So for about every acre to acre and a half, they're taking roughly 1/10 of an acre sample, and we'll see what they're doing with that with our instruments we have to take tree heights, diameters, in order to get that evaluation. What's valuable right now is the hardwood species, which is primarily 90% of what we have here in the mountains, whether we're in Western North Carolina, North Georgia, or Tennessee. The hardwood market is at an all-time high. Hopefully there's quite a mix of 16-inch to 20-inch trees. That's where your value is going to be. So we're heading out to Jackson County, North Carolina, take a look at a timber harvest that's in progress right now. And what we typically do here in the mountains is doing a thinning of mature timber. When you're cutting things, thinning out the mature timber, you're typically cutting into the 14, 15-inch diameter class, which is leaving everything below that. So anything below 14, 15 inches of diameter, still many trees left on the property. So some questions I get asked a lot of times is what this is probably going to do to my property from the standpoint of maybe erosion. I've got even questions of, is there a possibility of a landslide or anything, and what's done to protect that? We have regulations that we have to follow, putting in skid roads properly on the right grade, maybe silt fences in sensitive areas, or seeding stuff back, and that's all regulated by the state, but we meet and exceed all of those expectations set by the state. And we sort of wrapped it all up into one here, where you've got a lot of added value. Already some roads established, views opened up, and it's something that's actually pretty marketable now, and especially over the next few years. So again, we're just driving out of this timber harvest. It's one that's just taken place. People may ask, why would you cut your timber? To dispel any maybe negative or possibly uneducated things about timber harvesting. Roads, we're establishing quite a few roads on the property. It's a huge value. Open it up, especially here in the mountain area, opening up views, wildlife benefits, opening up the sunlight back in this timber creates a huge amount of growth, so it's actually a really good benefit for wildlife such as turkey and deer. And just the monetary value that comes out of it. There's a lot of people will probably be surprised what value they can get out of their timber. All right, here's an example of a beautiful tract that we actually have for sale. It's a good example too of just where we live. Beautiful Western North Carolina, great vistas, mountain views, and there's a lot of tracts like this out here right now. It's a great time to buy. Prices are lower really than they've ever been in the last 10 years, but we're starting to get back on the upswing of things. So if there's any time to buy a tract of mountain land, it's definitely now. in a lot of these cases, in conjunction with what we do, harvesting timber, some of these tracks you might not ever think you could get this type of view out of, but thinning out the timber, building the roads to get into the property. We've got a few in our bank right now where it's a good tract to buy, get the timber money out of it, and have something with beautiful views, good investment for the future, looking for the next 5 to 10 years down the road. So this is an example of when we just finished this job up, just within the last month, and we seeded the roads back. We actually put a little bit of wildlife mix in there, some clover and some oats upon the landowner's request, which will be good, beneficial for, of course, erosion control, plus providing some immediate food for the wildlife coming in this year. Yeah, here's a creek crossing that we installed that's pretty typical here in the mountains. Entering into a lot of properties, you got maybe a small stream or a large stream to cross. This one we were able to put a culvert in. We had to put some riprap on the head wall and the tail wall of the culverts just to keep it in place, keep anything from eroding. Pretty minimal cost to the landowner. So now we're on a tract that we cut the timber just 1 year ago, just a little bit over a year ago, about a year and 2 months maybe. So when we finished up on this job, and I think it's just a good one to show you. Not a lot of people would probably notice this as being a timber harvest. We cut a lot of timber out of here on this tract. So if you go back to earlier in our video and seeing a harvest go on and maybe some of the debris on the ground and things, and when it maybe doesn't look so pleasant, but just 1 year later, all this new fresh undergrowth coming back up, it's really hid. Now these big brush piles over here, this just happened to be sort of a sensitive area. Upon the landowner's request, we did pile some of the brush. That is not typical unless the landowner requests that. It was an additional cost, but it really wasn't an extremely additional cost. On this particular tract, there was somewhere around $40,000 to $50,000 of timber to the landowner, and he spent, you know, a couple grand on some cleanup in some sensitive areas. So for just a little bit, he was able to make it look pretty good in just some of the visual sensitive areas. And I have to be honest, on this tract of timber, when we initially cut it, there was so much timber. This was just really had a lot of timber on this tract, high volume. And when we initially cut this and got done, I was a little concerned with the way it was looking. It was just, there was a lot of debris that was able to be seen. But I'm really pleased here, just 1 year later, that really that stuff is not very present with the amount of the growth just one summer and now this spring coming back on this tract. This is another tract of timber that's actually for sale. Actually has a pretty good price on it. It's actually not through my brokerage, it's through another brokerage locally, but I'm very familiar with the piece of land if anybody's interested in this tract. We're looking right over Sylva, North Carolina, just right outside the city limits, very convenient back to town. Pretty exciting piece of property to be this close to town, but yet have quite a bit of acres. This is a 70-acre tract here. And the purchase price on this one can be probably under $200,000. So this is a stand that's been harvested about 5 years ago, 3 to 5. Just give you an idea of what it can look like after the harvest. Most people here wouldn't even know that this has been a timber harvest. Any of that debris that you've seen in earlier footage when the job was actually taking place, a lot of that stuff, I mean, it's still there, but you don't see it anymore. I mean, a lot of it's decayed down. We've got all this new young growth coming back. So just wanted to give you an idea of how it's going to look much better just as early as 3 to 5 years down the road. So a lot of people may think that it's a job that's a big undertaking, something that's going to require a lot of effort by them, but that's what we're here for, to really make it just as simple as a phone call or contact us through our website. But we can take you from step A to Z and handle that whole process for you. Also, the size of jobs, that's sometimes maybe a misconception. I mean, we can handle anything about 8 acres and as large as you want to go, but in that 8 to 10 to 20, 25 acres, you'd be surprised what maybe can come off there in value, where some people may not even consider their timber value in that acreage size. So don't let the size of your parcel fool you. Anything maybe 8 acres and larger. There's a few different ways to get in touch with us. Of course, our phone numbers are posted on the website, but you can give us a call, 828-788-1313. Is my direct number. I'll be glad to talk to you about anything from the timbering or maybe potential land tracts you might want to sell or be looking for something, a land tract to buy here in the mountains. Our website, CarolinaLandandTimber.com, has got a lot of good information on it. We keep it updated, so check into that often.